When you GM, are all your scene transitions abrupt cuts? What else could they be? Here's some great ways to move the story along, and the last one is something many GMs don't know they're allowed to do. A recent comment on one of my other videos asked about transitions between encounters, and it made me realise there's a lot I take for granted. I've been a role-playing game master for more than 45 years, and there's some things that every GM needs to get the hang of. One of them is managing time, and some of the tools for moving between scenes do get overlooked. The first thing I want to say is, in a game like Root, planning an adventure as a series of encounters isn't always the best way. Don't think, when the players get there, they will meet these people in this order, but instead lean towards, if the characters get here at this time, then this scene will be ongoing. Situations are better than encounters. The activity isn't waiting for the players to trigger it. Have things that will happen if they don't intervene. List them, and it shouldn't always be that their meddling is beneficial. Remember, in Root, the party are not the good guys. They're the vagabonds. With that said, there's more than one way to transition between scenes. The first one we all use is a simple cut. If there's nothing anyone else wants to do before we head out, we'll cut to an hour later beside the river. Everyone okay? Good. You arrive at the riverside and you can see, I do recommend having a check before the cut so no one will ask to backtrack. But next is a montage sort of thing. This is useful if you want to pass time. Everyone okay? Good. The next hour you spend relaxing, eating your meals, getting another ale. Everyone can clear one box of exhaustion. Eventually you decide it's time and step out of the tavern. The sun is lower on the horizon now. Some of the market traders you walk past are already shutting up shop. When you arrive at the riverside, you can see, essentially it's the same thing as the first, but we're narrating the passage of time. It's a gentler transition. We're including the characters in the picture, and it's entirely possible to use this for some role-playing too. Remember, it's okay to ask your players to supply background details. This isn't a video game. You could say, on your way to the riverside, you spot several things that indicate there might be trouble. What could they be? And then go round the table. This is like an establishing shot in a film. We've pulled back a bit, but here's some details that will be relevant later, kindly supplied by your players. Obviously do include these details in what happens, but if you've kept your plans light, then that should be entirely possible. Remember, any plot you prep is plan B. Next, another sort of establishing transition, cut to before they arrive. We leave you getting ready to head over from the tavern and turn our gaze to the riverside. The local militia has been waiting for more than 2 hours at the bridge for the expected Marcus 8 squad to arrive, shivering against the rain. Some of them have already gone home. When you turn up, there's an argument happening between an older, angry heron and a defensive-looking otter, her children hiding behind her. What has just happened? A situation. We're arriving to a situation. It isn't one that has to involve the characters. They can ignore it and go straight for the bridge or ask who looks like they're in charge. But there's animation and activity and not cardboard cutouts waiting for the players to turn up and roll some dice. As a contrast, a smash cut is a sudden tone shift. You are totally allowed to do this. If anyone asks, I gave you permission. If there's nothing anyone else wants to do before you head out, we'll cut. Okay, it's 3 hours later, and you're all hiding in a cave mouth. If you have no injury or exhaustion marked, tick one box of either now. You're all bickering about how it went so horribly wrong in hushed voices, so the Marcus 8 troops don't hear you. Who's getting most of the blame? What did you say to the cats that was a very stupid, but in retrospect completely you, thing to say? This is a bit of an expert move, and your players do have to trust you, but this is a game about telling a story and not continually rolling high numbers on dice. It's not Yahtzee. Maybe I should do a video about dice next. If they're all addicted to the boring idea of my character can never fail, then maybe save this for later. But if they're ready for it, and you don't overuse it, this can lead to some fantastic role-playing and a great opportunity to cut, as it were, to the action. Players can decide how screwed they are because progression isn't tied to immaculate success. The fun is playing to find out what happens. The engagement roll in Blades in the Dark can be an excellent example of this if it produces a desperate result. Most of the time I use simple cuts, perhaps with a little narration if there's a time skip. I'm also quite partial to cutting completely away from the players and their A to B journey and injecting a little across-town meanwhile, but those can be harder to busk up on the fly. There's some suggestions about those in my video, Storytelling Tricks for Improvisational GMs. Check it out from my channel page. That's all for this time. The YouTube robots think you should watch this video next. Happy gaming, friends!